Welcome aboard, all you wonderful groomers, pet stylists, and canine cosmetologists. You found the Traveling Groomers Podcast, where we discuss lessons learned from mobile and house call grooming. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Bear Anthony. Any moment now, we'll be joined by my co-host and friend, retired mobile groomer and educator extraordinaire, Mary Aquendo, and very likely a special guest to help us chat about all things grooming, grooming industry related, and just plain fun digressions that I will totally wrangle back to topic. Grab those travel mugs and climb aboard to see where today's topic will bring us. Let's roll.
Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Traveling Groomers Podcast. Chris, I am just back from vacation.
I am playing.
I can see that. Okay.
I'm going to perfect this because it brings me great joy.
Obviously, it brings you great joy. But you know what the only problem with going on vacation is?
You have to come back.
Well, yeah, there's that. But you know what? You get used to the time off. You get used to like not working.
You know what my biggest, and you went on a cruise. So what my biggest issue coming back from specifically a cruise vacation is I remember the very first cruise I went on. I came back. We came in late, went to sleep. I stumbled into the kitchen the next morning, opened the fridge, looked around, and I went, there's no food here. There's a bunch of ingredients, but there's no food here.
We went out to dinner again tonight. Which is why I said, hey, it's going to be a little late to the podcast. Because you know what? It's the same thing. I'm looking at all the ingredients in my house.
Right? It's ingredients. Oh, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 211, recorded on May 10th. This will be airing on May 24th. So this is going to be airing after Teton next week because we will have done a live episode, our first ever just live, just do it live. It'll be up on a Wednesday at some point, but things are going to happen.
Yes, it won't be Wednesday morning. It will basically be when we get to the show on Wednesday. This is already after the fact anyway. So yeah. It's like, what's the point? Anyway, it'll be the Wednesday that it normally goes up. It's just maybe like not 8 o'clock in the morning.
I just realized something.
What's that, Chris?
In order for anyone to believe these are my tiny hands, I have to paint the fingernails.
I'm just gonna say, Chris, that's probably not the only reason they don't think it's
Mary. I just have one other thing to say to that.
And I see you have multiple tiny hands.
And you know what? They always amuse me when I see them on TikTok and stuff. And it wasn't until Amy showed up with them at Intergroom and I was like, I bet I could buy them myself off of Amazon. So
we have Speedy here today.
Yeah, I saw Speedy on the live stream yesterday too. What's he doing with all these appearances?
Well, so you can see Pooh is not exactly happy over it. I don't know. We just came back from vacation. They were boarded for a week.
So they're extra clingy.
They're a little extra clingy. And I've already set the next boarding for them because I'm going on vacation in August with my with 3 of my grandkids.
Mm-hmm. So they already know and they're not happy.
Yeah, they probably heard me making the appointment this morning and making sure I get in for a summer boarding.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even booked the airfare, but their boarded is taken care of.
Well, that's harder to book than airfare.
It's way harder to book than airfare.
Because airfare prices fluctuate, but boarding spots fill up and they're just like, sorry,
Oh, yeah.
especially good places. Oh, I think maybe that's another topic or something for today that we didn't even think about. I didn't put in my notes, boarding facilities.
Okay. Yeah, you know what, let's start there. All right, so we had a request from a non-pet professional who wanted to know, how do you make decisions on a particular pet professional?
Wait a minute. We have non-pet professionals who listen to our podcast.
We do.
I feel very fancy right now. Okay.
Well, she's a friend of mine.
Okay. Well, I also wanted to say, if you're wondering, by the way, the topic for today is how to choose a groomer. And since we are mostly marketed or geared towards pet professionals, why are we even talking about this? The reason I think it's important is we need to put ourselves in the pet owner's shoes. We need to go, what are they looking for in a groomer? And is that me?
Yeah. And then also to know, who do you actually want as a client? Who are you attracting as a client? Because you know what? We can't groom all the pets.
No. We cannot groom all the pets. We should not even try. And I think it's a shop versus mobile mindset, because I started in shops, like I started firmly in shops. And there was, because we had the ability to do a higher volume, there was very much a competition, like, oh, the person down the street's my competitor. Because we didn't get, at least I didn't at the time, that we couldn't groom all the dogs.
Yeah. And I think that's a concept that we as professionals have to understand, that we cannot groom them all. We should not make any attempt to groom them all. And if we're looking more towards volume, it's a race to the bottom. It's a race to burnout. If you go for volume and then competing as far as price is concerned. So, but first, since we did bring up boarding, I do want to talk about what I look for in a boarding facility may be different than what somebody else looks for in a boarding facility.
And I have, I've worked at different boarding facilities, so I know what goes on behind the scenes. It's terrifying.
I've always preferred, now it's not what I have now, but I've actually always preferred vet boarding, because if I have a pet that's not well, then if something happens, they're right there.
It's there. It's there.
And I currently do have a diabetic dog, but my vet and most of the other area vets here anyway don't do boarding.
And even if they do, either at a vet or any boarding facility, find out if they are a 24-hour facility. Because not every place is, not every vet is. So you may think, I'm doing the absolute best for my elderly dog, for my diabetic dog, or, pet with issues. And, if something happens at 11 o'clock at night, it could be 6-7 hours before they're found.
Well, that's one of the questions you want to ask. Is it a 24-hour facility? Right. That's actually really important to me. One of my least concerns is price. It really is. I will spend money on my dogs to make sure that I know they're being well cared for, so that I can go on vacation and not worry about them.
And honestly, that's one of the reasons that's a factor in me not going on vacation, because I know my Una that you're now going to be able to see every so often. She's a problem child. And she's not easy to board. And that's an added expense. And if I can't find some place for her that I trust implicitly, I'm just not going.
So one of my dogs is a runner, meaning he will run, he will take off of the hills. Okay. So that's a factor when I am looking for a place to board. How secure is the place? How secure is that if he gets out, wherever he's in, he doesn't have anywhere to run to? Okay. So that's one of the factors. The other factor is that while where they're being boarded right now, it's technically not a 24/7. It's they live in the house adjacent to the kennel.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's close enough. My other concern is that I have small dogs, and what we have here are eagles and owls. If they're going to let my small dog out in the yard, can an eagle or an owl get to them?
Mhm.
So I made sure that the place had a smaller area that the smaller dogs had access to, that didn't have the wingspan space for anything to swoop in and grab them.
Yeah.
Okay. I like the fact that where I'm boarding them. So one of the other things I look for is I really don't necessarily want a kennel run. So they have a room and all 4 dogs can stay together. So those are the things that I look for and I want, and then I check off what is kind of most important to me. What is a priority if I can't get all of those?
One of the other things to look at is how they do their outside or their out of the room time. Now, with a setup like you have, where they have their own room, that may not be as big an issue because they're not in a crate, they're not in a run, they're in a room. It's then how many times a day do they need to be walked or let out to relieve themselves? But a lot of kennels that have runs or crates, what is there? And this comes into the boarding daycare. What do they do for the daycare? What do they do when they're out of the runs? And in a situation like that, you absolutely want a place that makes sure you have at least a half a day to a full day of daycare before you board, just to see how they get along with other dogs. Do they have groups? What size dogs are together? What level of supervision is there at all times?
Going to harass them while my dogs are gone, are being boarded, which means during my vacation, I'm going to call and say, hey, how my dog's doing? And
And a lot of places now have like web streaming.
Yeah. So when I'm boarding, so like I said, there's a lot of questions and you have to kind of figure out what kind of is important to you and make your list and see if the place you have meets your requirements. Okay. I cannot expect all of what I would like at a cheap price. So my trade-off to get what it is I want in a facility, it's going to cost me.
And whether or not you're a customer or an employee of said boarding place, don't be afraid to ask the question, what training do your employees have? And if you're an employee of that boarding place, know the answers, because it's a perfectly logical question for them to say, what type of training do they have? Do they have first aid training? How long have your workers been working with dogs? Because I've worked at some places, and I 110%, 2 of the places I worked at would never board one of my dogs there. Never.
Okay.
I've seen some things, Mary.
And I'm sure, you know what, is the place open to, and I don't say just show up someplace. I mean, call them up.
Oh,
and
no, I say
see-
show up. I'm a
No.
bitch like that.
No. I say, call them up and ask, when is a good time that you can go and see the facility? You're working, Chris.
Okay, however, some of the things I have seen include dogs not from the same family being boarded in the same run and being fed in the same run. Yeah, one of those reacted that resulted in a vet visit. So you're right. They're working. It's not cool just to show up. But I've seen such things that scare me. That's why I would be likely to just show up. And
But how did you know there's runs with not the same family?
you wouldn't necessarily. However, to me, if the runs aren't clearly labeled, that to me would be a red flag. Like, who's in what run?
Okay.
So, okay, for example, not that Una and Alaric can be in the same run because Una's a bitch. Love her to death. She's a bitch. But would I expect the label to read Una and Alaric Anthony? Would I expect a first and last name on both dogs? Maybe, actually, because how many Bellas could they have at any given time?
Yeah.
How many Bellas, Gizmos, Lunas? Yeah.
What I like about my place is that the rooms have the glass sliding doors.
Mhm.
So they write the names of the dogs and a description of what the dog looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Or a picture. It's easy enough to print up a picture on a little piece of paper. Like a
Right.
lot.
It's the little things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does the place stink when you walk in?
Yeah, that's a big one.
And this goes for, by the way, that one goes for boarding, for daycare, for grooming shop, corporate shop, private shop, shop in somebody's garage, anything. Does it stink when you walk in?
Okay. All right, let's take our first commercial.
Yes, we will. I know when I'm on the road grooming, I want to keep things rolling along. With a 9-foot clearance, Canby mobile grooming vans actually fit for most drive-throughs to make lunch and banking on the go a breeze. With their clean running diesel engine getting up to 5 hours runtime per gallon, you're spending less time and money at the pump. Visit Canby.com today to configure the mobile grooming van of your dreams.
Okay, so
I'm just going to keep switching pens.
right. So the other option, which is not an option, because my husband, for us, he's just simply not comfortable with someone coming to our home. And it's not an argument I'm going to force.
You know what? Same. And my husband would be the exact same way, unless it was somebody like a friend, unless it was a personal friend, someone we knew. We wouldn't.
And my concern with a house sitter is that, like I said, I have a runner. He will not just take off. I mean, he will take off for the hills. What if that happens? I'm not home.
Yeah.
So for me, that whole security issue, I can't go on vacation and be comfortable knowing, could this dog have gotten out?
See, and I could probably do that, at least with Una, because she's out in the office now and she's the problem child, because there's enough airlocks. Like I would say, okay, don't enter through these doors, enter through this door, and it's an interior door and it wouldn't be a problem. I'm more, she's just weird.
Okay. All right, but that's also another option. I have a friend whose boarding is her neighbor, and they watch each other's dogs.
Yeah.
You know what? So, and that works for them.
There's also a fair amount of people who do it in their home.
Yeah.
And that option I like, if they do it on a, like, not a huge scale. Like if they do it right. There's someone in my area that I've used years ago when we had a bunch of little dogs, and she watched dogs in her house, and now her son has the business, and they have a really high fenced in yard. They make sure the dogs visit for a day to make sure they get along with everybody. And that way there is somebody there pretty much 24/7.
And with the crew of dogs I had before this crew, Ricky, my golden, would be boarded at somebody's house, and the other dogs went to the vet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an option too, because this person loved Goldens. She had 2 of her own Goldens. She had a pool, and there was nothing that gives this woman more joy than having a gaggle of Goldens swimming in her pool.
That does sound pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. I'm picturing a very specific person's backyard at this point, but yeah, I know it's not your neighbors, but yeah, I'm picturing the gaggle of Goldens.
Yeah. So there's other thing. There's always options, and your needs can change. And when your needs change, then you have to review what it is that you're looking for in a pet professional. Okay. So let's move on to groomers. And there's different types of groomers. We have shop groomers, and not to consider that shops are just like volume, because they're not. Because
Right, you've got a bunch of different types of shops.
okay, you have house call, you have people who have a shop in their own home, you have vet groomers, you have mobile groomers. So there's a lot of option there. And again, even within each of these categories, there's different things to choose from based on what it is that you are looking for. Okay. So sometimes it has to do with price. And let me tell you something. There are some shops that really aren't that much cheaper than a mobile.
Nope.
Right?
And those are the spas.
Yeah.
Or they should be. And when you're a place like that, and if you're a groomer, go, okay, what kind of shop do I want? What kind of salon do I want? Do I want to have a basic service that is like a little bit a step above what you would normally consider a basic service to be? Do you want to have all the add-on spa packages? That's a one-on-one environment. Do you want a cage-free environment? And once again, if you're looking at a cage-free environment, now you're kind of in the realm of daycare. And do you have someone besides the groomers who are supposed to be focused on the dog on their table, watching the dogs running around the floor? Sorry, I just went off on that tangent.
Okay. Before we deep dive into this, let's take another commercial.
Okie dokie. So by now, you know how much I love my Evolution shears. They're the only shears I use. Check out all the options, including customizable non-swivels, at evolutionshears.com, and give Abby a shout with any questions you might have. Traveling Groomers listeners get $10 off and free shipping with the code on the road, all one word. So check them out today. Your hands will thank you. And I looked in my desk for a pair of shears because I brought in my curved chunkers to like do a live video, and then they didn't make it back to my car, and I was big mad, Harry.
Okay. All right. So let's look at what might be some of the needs. All right. There might be the type of dog that you have, or cat, or rabbits. Right. So not just dogs here. Okay. And just to touch on cats and rabbits really fast. Okay. Cats and rabbits, as any owner knows, is a different species from dogs.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a cat groomer or a rabbit groomer, One of the questions you want to ask is what kind of certifications they have as far as cat grooming or rabbit grooming is concerned. Do they know what they're doing? How long have they been doing this? There are many mobiles, okay, that are cat only groomers. That's all they do is cats, day in, day out. Dog never graces their table, right? Rabbit grooming is a little bit more of a niche. But again, you really want to make sure that the person who is grooming your rabbit knows what they're doing, so that you may not have a choice on whether or not it's shop or house call or mobile. There may be like a person in your area that does rabbit grooming, and wherever they're at, that's where you're going.
Mhm.
Okay. That also brings to specialty breeds.
Yeah. Do you need something? Do you need hand stripping? Do you want hand stripping? Do you want
Courting.
specific cuts?
Yeah. And again, that's a specific groomer. So when you're going into like specific breed trims, whether it's hand stripping or courting or specific haircuts, all right, that is a groomer who's going to be more knowledgeable about the breed. Maybe they show the breed. That might be a question you want to ask.
Yeah.
Many groomers show their dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you let's just say you have an Airedale, all right. Maybe you want to find a groomer in your area that breeds and shows Airedales. Then maybe the recommendation you're looking for is from your local breed club, which they are probably a part of.
Mm-hmm. One other thing that I really wanted to go into, and oh no, I didn't look at when we started. I didn't look at what time we started. So I am lost on when we need to take our commercial breaks and wrap it up. But whether you're looking for a mobile shop, house call, whatever variety of groomer you're looking for, a very important thing is, do you get along with them? Like, do you vibe with them? Do you like them? Because, and that kind of goes a little bit for clients too, groomers looking at clients, because this is someone that we are trusting with, in a lot of ways are they're almost like our children. We love these animals. We want to give them to someone who's going to care and love them too. We want to leave them with a person that we can talk to and understand and maybe get our sense of humor. So if you get a groomer who you think is absolutely loving and caring and everything else you love, but maybe they don't have experience with that haircut, but they're willing to learn, and you're not showing the dog, give it a go.
Okay. You know what? That's fair, because you know what? We all start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember the very first time I did a Continental on a standard poodle. And I did that Continental based out of the poodle book.
Uh-huh.
Stone's, was it Stone's Guide to Grooming? I believe that was the name of the book.
That sounds familiar.
Okay. So yeah, there's that. But I have also annoyed somebody because they had an Irish setter. An Irish setter that they wanted in a specific breed trim. And what they really wanted was somebody who probably was breeding and showing them, which was not me.
Yeah. I had that. Oh, the first Airedale I did, because we all start somewhere. The very first Airedale I did, something was off with the head. And the clients were, I hesitate because I realized that part of why I was so annoyed with them is because I was young and I was in my I know everything stage of life. Because this had to be over 15 years ago. So part of it was my attitude, but part of it was they were like really condescending about how they told me about it. I mean, they came in and were like, we were embarrassed to walk him down the street like this. Like, don't say that to somebody. Like,
So you need to know what your grooming needs are. All right. And then find that groomer who can meet those needs. You know, it's the same thing when I'm talking about being boarded. You know, I have a checklist of things that are important to me. Figure out what it is that's important to you. Okay. And go from there. Now, if what's important to you is price, there's a sign, right?
oh no,
You can have two of the three. Okay. It was like good, cheap, and fast.
there is a quote that is attributed to Sailor Jerry,
Okay.
and it is, good work ain't cheap and cheap work ain't good.
Okay. So if price is your number one consideration, then that's it. Okay.
And by the way, before somebody gets mad at me and goes, and because they're undercharging and says, well, I'm cheap, that doesn't mean I'm not a good groomer. It means at some point you won't be, because you're going to burn yourself out. I'm not saying you're not a good groomer now, but I am saying you are on the road to groomer hell, just for your body and your sanity. My hair needs a trim.
But
Sorry.
from an owner, well, this is not for professionals right now. What we're talking about is to the pet owner. Okay. If all your consideration is price, all right, you really can't demand anything else on your list other than price.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, so let's take price off. Okay. Price is not necessarily the consideration. So then we will walk into then pricing being either average or above average.
Mm-hmm.
And average and above average can be dependent on what service you're using, whether it's mobile or shop or house call.
Let's take another commercial, and then we'll really get into the difference and why there's such a huge difference between those three prices. Okay. I love being a house call groomer, but I hate doing laundry or worrying about asking my clients for fresh towels. Raypet has solved those problems for me with the Wet Pet disposable towel, taking up much less space than traditional cotton towels and easy to wring out and reuse. These super soft, comfy, absorbent towels eliminate any cross-contamination concerns between pets. And now their new smaller washcloth size can even help those sensitive eye areas. Great for cleaning out wrinkles gently and thoroughly. Need to keep water bowls for your clients on hand that are easy to disinfect, but hate all the room traditional clanky metal bowls take up? Or just have a very active pet? Their collapsible silicone bowl comes with an aluminum D-ring hook that can be attached to your pet's leash or anywhere else in your van for easy storage. You can get one by itself or in their handy travel kit, along with a set of 3 tick removers and 1 small wet pet towel. So stop by their website to check it out, raypet.net, and tell them the Traveling Groomer sent you.
Okay. So what might be a high price in the shop may be average for a mobile groomer and maybe even below average.
Probably below average for a mobile groomer.
And especially below average for a house call groomer. And this is why. Okay. This is why prices are the way prices are. Okay. It takes a certain amount of dollars to run a business.
Mhm.
It takes a certain amount of dollars to pay a person a living wage, yada, yada, yada. Okay.
And even for house call, which is the most relatively the most inexpensive way to run a business, it still costs money. And it's the most convenient for the customer. I mean, the dog doesn't even have to leave their house,
It's not even that.
but it's the most inconvenient for the groomer.
It is the most, and there goes proven. It is the most inconvenient for the groomer because there's all of this setup. And really what it comes down to, if you have to make X amount of dollars per day, and let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm going to pick a number that's easy for math. Okay. Let's just say it's $500. Let's just say, okay. So a shop to meet $500, well, they could do 10 dogs. Okay. But a mobile may only be able to do 5 dogs. And house call may only be able to do 3 dogs. Still have to make that $500.
I find my average is 4.
We're not talking about,
Yeah, not talking me, not talking anything, but yeah, you're not doing the same amount of dogs.
not doing the same amount, but you have to make that number. Okay. So if you have to make that number and you can only do this many dogs or cats or rabbits, then your pricings have to be priced accordingly. Okay. And this is where pricing comes in, the difference between a shop, a house call, and a mobile. And even if it's a high-end pet store where it is truly a one-on-one spa experience, again, you have to meet that number, that dollar amount. How many pets can you do in your day to make and make that dollar amount? This is where pricing comes in. All right. There's a lot that goes into for like a spa. If you're using spa products, they're way more expensive than your standard things. Yes. The cost of running a business. Right. So this is where pricing comes in. So let's put that baby to bed. Right. This is where you're paying what you're paying. Okay. So, so if you want, if you're okay with dropping off at a shop and picking up later, that's fine. Okay. When I worked in the shop, I would have people drop their dogs off at the appointment, go do their running around, and come back and get their dog. That worked for them. Right. They were out and about. I've had dogs where they were not good in a shop, whether they was either fear aggressive or dog aggressive. They had anxiety or whatever the 1,000 reasons. They did not do well in a shop, much better in a mobile environment. That might be a reason for which one you pick. Maybe you have a pet that's very aggressive, right? Or needs to be sedated for the grooming. That might be better done at a vet hospital.
Yeah. When I was in a private shop, I stopped doing sedated dogs because there was no guarantee that something wouldn't go wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
And there wasn't a vet on staff. I just didn't want to be comfortable. I wasn't comfortable taking that risk.
As a mobile groomer, if I had pets who needed to be sedated, that meant the owner made a call to their vet, set up the sedation at their vet. I would go into the vet's office, groom the pet. They'd pay me, they pay the vet, and we'd go off our merry way. Right? That adds, like, again, dollars to the cost of the grooming.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's not just dollars to the cost of that grooming, because most vets will require a full set of blood work
Mhm.
before they do that sedation. They want to make sure that dog is healthy enough. So you're talking between $100 and $300 before you do the grooming.
Yes. Okay. Now, does your pet have special needs? Okay. Is it a senior pet? All right. Does it have skin conditions? There are so many groomers who, I guess the biggest trend in education right now is skin and coat.
Yeah.
And a lot of groomers are now specializing in skin and coat. Right? Does your pet have a skin and coat issue? Then maybe one of the questions you want to ask is what certifications do you have as far as skin and coat is concerned? Because trust me, there is a lot of education out there, right? There are also groomers who are fear-free. And what's the other one? Fear-free and
Oh, I don't remember.
there's two of them.
I
There's-
just have an issue with fear-free.
But it's a certification.
It's a certification. And to clarify, I don't have an issue with the learning with getting the certification. I have an issue with the implication that if you're not fear-free, you're terrifying your dogs. That's a personal thing. That's just what I hear when I hear it. It's me. It's just me.
Okay.
But there's nothing wrong with fear-free certification.
There are groomers who have continuing education in behavior and handling.
Mhm.
Okay. Is your pet a little harder to handle? Is your pet a puppy? Is your pet a senior?
Yeah.
Right. Because honestly, as a mobile groomer, I really didn't want to do puppies.
Oh.
I didn't want to. I really didn't. They were not my cup of tea. But give me that 15, 16-year-old dog, I was very happy.
Mhm.
Okay. So the point we're making here is know what the needs of your pet are and find a groomer to meet them. You may have to, depending on your needs, get on a wait list.
Yeah. Yeah. When I worked in a small shop, I did puppies, their sometimes first through third visits on Sundays, because I did what I call special needs Sundays. And they were the puppies and the seniors and the dogs that needed more time. Find out how your groomer books those dogs, because if it's a high volume shop, that might not be the best place for puppies first groom, unless they're just getting a puppy package, unless they're just getting a quick intro, a quick in and out for things.
Okay. We should take another commercial.
Yes, we should. I was just looking at that right now. Everything else in the world seems to have changed. Positive Ed has too, but for the better. Online learning is here to stay, and Positive Educational Training has brought the trade show to you with Summit memberships. For one monthly price of $97, you get 6 to 10 hours of content streamed live to your sofa, or let's be honest, grooming table. Forgot to attend live? No problem. You have 6 weeks to watch at your convenience. That's 3 weeks more than non-members, and for up to $50 less than non-members paid. With a monthly support call and summits tailored to the pet industry and designed to include all learning styles. What are you waiting for? Check out positiveed.com today and get the support you need to take action for your business. I need another camera. I wish you could see this. So I was playing with my girl during the break and she got the zoomies, but it's a little cramped over there. So instead of like going around the corner of the grooming table, she just, because it was all the way down, she just leapt over the corner of the grooming table. And now we're going to have some giggle ball in the background that I will attempt to edit out later, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
And Pooh is like, zoomies. There's no
What are zoomies?
zoomies. Don't bother me with zoomies.
Well, she's like 10 and she's got zoomies still. Oh my God. Oh my God.
All right. So, all right. And then there's like basically wash and wear dogs.
Mhm.
Okay. But, wash and wear dogs, let's say Dalmatians, Labs, Rotties, they shed a lot. So,
And a lot of them, like in my area, there's a lot of pits and they're prone to skin issues, I've noticed.
so, you know what? There's like de-shedding. There's groomers who specialize in like de-sheddings and
Mhm.
offer it. So again, to decide what it is you want for your pet, how often you want to groom the pet, because, honestly, you may not be given a choice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If you want a specific type of haircut on the dogs that require haircuts, your groomer may tell you you need to be on the schedule. And they're telling you that because this is how they're going to maintain the coat for the pet that's in the most humane manner.
Or maintain the haircut you're insisting you want. For the non-pet professionals who are listening to this, and by that I mean doodle owners. We really don't hate you. But
Informed.
what was that?
You think you're misinformed.
We think you're misinformed, and I've got an idea for an upcoming episode on what grinds your grooming gears, and I'm going to get into the hybrid and what is not a hybrid. Because like I feel my blood pressure start to go.
Hybrid is two different things.
Two different species.
Okay, but let's just take the word hybrid.
No. We can't use the word things here because then they're going to say a doodle is a hybrid, and it's not. And I'll stab you in the eye, or at least fantasize about it if someone says to my face, a doodle's a hybrid.
No, because it's the same. It's the same thing. A dog is a dog is a dog is a dog is a dog.
Yes.
Okay, so you can't take two dogs and make a hybrid because they're dogs.
You can take a wolf and a dog and make a hybrid, because one is Canis familiaris and one is, I believe, Canis lupus.
Right.
Or close enough. Those are they're
Right,
Latin words. But
look at your cars. Okay.
yes.
So you could have gas, diesel, electric, correct?
Mm-hmm. Or you could have a hybrid.
Hybrid, yes.
Because it's gas and electric.
All right. Two different things.
I'm gonna and here's I'm gonna say something potentially politically incorrect, Mary, and you'll tell me if I need to edit this later, but calling a doodle a hybrid is the equivalent of calling a biracial person a hybrid.
Oh, you don't need to edit that out.
Because as someone who's married to a, I believe, technically biracial person, both his parents are human. They're not hybrids. Both a doodle's parents are dogs. They're not hybrids, which is why the term mutt being used for humans is extremely derogatory, insulting, and goddamn horrible. Mary, did I say I wasn't going to get into it?
Okay.
But it really grinds my gears. I'm sorry.
Mixed breeds.
Mixed breeds.
Okay. All right. So, God, where were we? All right.
Okay. How to choose.
All right. So the point that we were making there, what you want, all right, what you desire comes at a cost. Now, I'm going to phrase it like this. Have you ever tried to brush a kid's hair little kid who hasn't had the hair brushed in like a week. You know what that entails?
I've been that little kid.
Okay. So, and there's a right and a wrong way to comb brush any specific breed. And it may be different based on the breed of pet or the mixed breed that you have, because there's different coats, right? And you need to know the proper way to brush and comb the coat your dog has. And we don't expect you to be born knowing this knowledge. All right.
No,
it's more than willing to show you how to do it and the tools you need. But the thing is, you have to do it. If you don't brush your kid's hair for a month, you might as well just shave that kid's head.
Mm,
It's going
it's
to
going to be,
it's going to be brutal. And the most humane thing would be is to shave that kid's head. It's no different with a dog, all right? Or a cat or a rabbit that has not been maintained in the manner that it needs to be maintained in. Okay. So look also for a groomer who is willing to educate you, who's willing to take time to show you how to maintain your pet. If your pet, and all pets need maintenance, even, your lab, there's a special, there's the correct brush for your lab too.
yeah. And look for a groomer who does some kind of continuing education. Groomers, because I know y'all are still listening, even though this episode isn't geared towards you. Be that groomer who continues their education. Because let me tell you, when I first started grooming, the correct brush for a lab was a shedding loop. Mary, when's the last time you even saw a shedding loop?
I haven't seen a shedding loop in a while.
Right? It used to be, I guarantee.
I remember having one.
I never actually owned one. I remembered using it and that it was like standard equipment in the first couple shops I worked at. But I never actually owned one. But yeah, a shedding loop used to be standard. And seriously, guys, comment when you're listening on the page, on our Facebook page when this is posted. Comment if you've ever seen one. If you've ever seen a shedding loop, do you know what it looks like? And if you do, when's the last time you used it? Because I mean, I'm sure there's still people that use it. I'm sure it's still out there, I think. I just don't remember the last time I've seen one because the trend has gone towards the rubber curry brushes.
Yeah. And here's another little thing with the labs. Not only do I have a rubber curry brush, I had the Chris Christensen cat comb for those butt hairs.
Yep. So yeah, we covered and by the way, just to go back at something we touched on in the beginning, whatever type of shop it is, house call is a little bit different for some of the things I'm going to say. If it smells like a wet dog, okay, I'm going to say that's okay because there's a high chance that there was just a wet dog there. But shouldn't smell like pee. Shouldn't smell like poop unless you see someone pooping, because it does happen. So if you walk in and someone's actively pooping and it gets cleaned up quickly, you might get a whiff. But stale pee is not good. Blaring music isn't good. It should be a pleasant environment for both the dogs and the people. It's huge.
We have one more commercial, correct?
We have one more commercial and then we'll wrap up because I have a couple of digressions.
Okay.
And speaking of continuing education, because we either were or will be, join the Andes world-class education team each month for live interactive virtual classes. You'll learn new and trending styles, as well as tips and tricks from some of the best groomers in the industry. Whether you're looking for basic skills, trending styles, advanced techniques, or even just ways to spark your creativity, the new Andes Grooming Education site is your source for finding what you need to create your way for success. Try new techniques, learn from the pros, and grow your confidence today at andis.com/groomer education. Traveling Groomer Podcast listeners, hey, that's you, can get 25% off your first course today with the code VEGROOMING at checkout on andis.com/groomer education. Okay, and one more quick thing before I digress. Check to see if they're a member of a professional organization. As the chairwoman of the NJPPGA, I have to bring that up because it's not mandatory, but if they are, that means they care about continuing ed. They care about their profession. They look at it as not just a job. So there's that. Hey, Mary.
Yes.
So when I took my hair out before, I pulled this little clip out of my hair.
Yes.
And now I have to text my customer because this was in Kira the Afghan's head earlier today. I don't know how it got in my hair. Like, okay, this is for however many years I've been grooming this dog. She has a clip like this to hold her hair, her bangs back, because she has long, luxurious bangs. And I clip it on my smock. And then when I'm finishing the groom, I clip it back on her head. And I remember clipping it back on her hair. I put it back in her head. I don't know how it got in my head.
Okay.
I'm assuming it was when I helped her off the tape. I very confused. Very confused, Mary. But I don't know if I told you this before, but part of the discretion, there is big news in my life. I did something on the self-care front.
What did you do, Chris?
I hired a housekeeper
Awesome.
twice a month. I'm so happy.
You want to know why I don't have a housekeeper? My husband's retired. He's the housekeeper right now.
Well, it was an enlightening and beautiful experience because I've wanted my husband to be the housekeeper, but he doesn't see the same level of dirt that I see. So after she finished the deep clean, because first visit was a deep clean, because my place was may or may not have been a hot mess. He looked around and he's like, oh, I couldn't do this. I couldn't do this level of clean.
Okay, my husband is very detailed oriented. He would probably outdo that deep clean and enjoy doing it.
This is the culprit from some of the banging and the noise you may have heard.
Oh, yeah, there goes Una looking for it. You're holding her toy.
I got your toy. Get it. Get it. But you know what? Oh, and when she's scheduled to come next time? The day I get back from Teton.
Nice.
So I'm going to get back late at night. So she will have been there. So I will walk into a clean house with clean bathrooms that I didn't clean. I've been in a good mood for
Yeah.
days.
My husband, and every time we go on vacation, I'm like, oh God, I gotta clean the house before we go. Okay. He insists on it. Okay. But we come home,
Uh-huh.
the house is clean.
Yeah.
And that first night that we came back from the cruise and it was too late to pick up the dogs. So not only was my house clean, my house was quiet.
Kind of nice.
And it was, I remember we're sitting there, we're watching TV. And I'm thinking, damn, this is too quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. But was it nice for once, like kind of having the kids away?
Yeah, because you know what? Speedy has issue with dogs on the TV. That's number one. If there's a dog on the TV, he's invading his home and he has to let them know they need to leave. Then it's anytime a freaking doorbell rings.
Mary, did I tell you about one particular feature that my house has that I like, but I've had issues with,
Which is,
our mail slot? The way our mail and on the exterior wall, it looks like your typical mail slot, but it goes through the wall, so you don't have to go outside to get the mail. It goes into a box type thing. And when we first moved in, there was a flap covering it. So it's not like you could lift the mailbox and see into the house. And it was fantastic because you never have to go outside to get the mail. Even little packages will fit in there, like envelope size thick things anyway. Our first dog, Norbert, who was the sweetest dog ever, didn't have a problem with anybody, loved everyone, even loved the mail person. But mail came in that slot and his home was being invaded. It started with a nice flap over it. He not only ripped the flap off, but there was like the paneling around it, the hole got bigger. It was just destroyed. He would sometimes even get the mail. We would find mail on the floor, like half mauled. Now, the funniest part of that was when we accidentally went to walk him and the mail person was there. The mailman acted like we were bringing out a vicious dragon that was about to kill him, because all he knew from the dog was this ferocity on the other side of the mail slot. Dog could care less. Oh, it's a person. Okay. Could not connect the two. So yeah, I get the issues with dogs and invading the house. That was a home invasion. And he was fantastic, but don't invade his house. If you walked in the front door, he'd probably be fine.
okay, so when we had the house built, the door my husband picked had the 3 panels that you could look out. We had to put something to cover the bottom one. Okay. Because it wouldn't take much. But now we have the middle and the top one, and they could sit on the sofa and look out. And God forbid they see someone walking their dog or walking a baby or whatever, and it's time to sound the alarm.
Yeah.
So that one night that it was quiet was actually really nice.
Yeah. You don't want it too much because you'd miss them. But every so often it's like, ooh, I just slept through the night. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fun.
The middle of the night because somebody has to pee. I mean, I get it. That 2 a.m., I gotta get up and go pee. It would be nice if we all coordinated at the same time.
Yeah. But the real question is, when you have to get up at 2 a.m. to go pee, do you come back into bed and find your spot filled in with dogs?
No, actually not.
Okay.
It's literally as if they shove themselves against the nesto to make sure he stays his side, leaves my side open.
Okay. Or are they protecting you from, are they protecting you from him?
Oh, that's Pooh's job.
Oh, okay. Poor Pooh. Poor Ernesto. All right.
Pooh's like, don't feel sorry for that man.
Is he a bad man, Pooh?
Okay.
All right.
On that
I'm
note,
glad you had fun on your vacation.
yes, I
I'm
did.
glad you're home safe. Got to take a picture of dog staring. Ah, she moved. And there's a gap between my monitor and the desk, and I just saw a face. Come say hi to people. Come say hi to people. She was like, I did. We're good.
Una. 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 Una, where are you? Oh, totally ignoring me.
Yeah, there you
Hi,
go.
is.
Oh,
All right,
don't.
we
I got
will-
to trim her nails. I wish I could pay somebody else to do that
I
too.
just paid somebody to do that when I got boarded.
Oh, she's not a fan. She's not a fan.
All right, so everybody join us next week. Yeah, next week. Join us next week.
Join us next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Safe travels. Well, that was fun, but now it's time to head home. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed chatting with you. If there are any topics you'd like us to discuss or guests you want to see join us on this crazy road trip of ours, let us know in the Traveling Groomers Facebook page. Don't forget to thank our sponsors. And see you next week, guys. Safe travels.